As a crusty veteran, nothing infuriates me more than what'd you call it, Ice Fashion Show? Operator cosplay is what I call it. The legacy here where, on a macro level, pre basically the end of Vietnam or whatever, special operations and people who are like what we're calling operators, which is what I did on a very average level, were weirdos and outcasts. There was not glorifying about the individual in military stuff. If you wanted to be a badass in World War II or in any previous conflict, you were trying to be like a Navy commander or something. And if I went back in time, told my grandfather who was in the Navy in D-Day and was like, yeah, I wore some cool shit and did patrols in Afghanistan. He'd be like, well, sure. I took over islands and led like a fleet. Nice. Cool. Good for you. It's a recent development in the wars that I experienced in. Part of that is because these were not wars of movement. These were wars of, to use a loaded term, occupation. But at least the space that we were trying to contain was pretty well defined. So you had counterinsurgency, bottom up, unconventional warfare stuff, which I did a lot of counterterrorism, top down, like kicking indoors and all that stuff. And it glorified the operator, right? So we just spent 25 years glorifying people like me, for better or for worse. And I maintain I was a bang average Green Beret, nothing fancy, good career and all that stuff, but I was no fucking superhero, right? But we really glorified all that stuff. And initially, SF guys in NOM or in irregular forces, all the dudes that went in 02 and 03 to Afghanistan, like, you wore crazy uniforms and irregular uniforms or the uniform of the guy you were with because you lived out of a fucking backpack for 3 months at a time, right? That's the genesis for all this like irregular stuff. And then over time, obviously that kind of became in vogue. And it became like a classist thing in the military where I would walk around, I could go to any post, not wear headgear, wear a sanitized uniform, have a beard, all that shit. And it was like, that's the cool guy, right? The operators are the cool guys, okay? And that just has bled out into any sort of what you want to call it, law enforcement, tactical culture, or any of that stuff, right? So the reason these guys are wearing my uniform from 15 years ago is because they think it's fucking cool.